Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about my Thea 3 Mind Control build guide. This is currently the most meta League starter build, and for a good reason. And the reasons for that are pretty simple. It is a 0 button build, maybe 1 button if you count the loot button, that is playable from the get-go. Well, the leveling is a little bit different. We're gonna go over all of that, but it is something that usually builds in this game can only achieve at the later stages of the end game. So the build feels incredible to play. It's kind of like the righteous fire of Torchlight, if you will, but it has also great single target. This build has an incredible progression from level 1 all the way to level 100. It is decently easy to understand, and everything else I'll try to demystify in this video. Most important thing when you're playing Mind Control, go escape, battle, and turn on the Mind Control auto channel. Also, if your settings or if your screen does not look like this, make it style 2 and then scroll all the way down and taper off the overall screen scaling so your game doesn't look like a mobile game. First up, if you've already played this build last league, you won't have to watch like the rest where I explain how the build works. However, I went a lot further with this build than last league. You remember I get to like 10 billion DPS and then rerolled. So definitely do note that I have a 50, 250 and a 250 build that also goes a little bit tankier. I also have the Prism explained right here. These codes are important in general. I will go over the progression a little bit later in the video. This is our main skill, Mind Control. It is a channeled skill. It is spell erosion. Persistent just means that it is damage over time, and it is intelligence based, and it doesn't have a hit. So it's basically looks like this. You go here, you activate it, and it casts kind of like a little thin veil over there. I have the graphics turned down a little bit, but basically everything around you gets hit, and yeah, it deals damage over time. I actually pushed this character to profound this time around. Last time I already rerolled before, so I'll quickly show you a map. I'm just going to run a super cozy map. It doesn't really matter, but kind of so you can see what's happening. This character, Thea, also has explosions, so that is very, very nice for clear. So this is all you do. Right now, I'm literally pressing 0 buttons. So you can see this right here. I'm pressing 0 buttons. I'm just steering, and I'm holding down the loot button. Let's get a God of War, so it looks a little bit better. But yeah, so this is how you zap through. Let's do an outlaw real quick. Boom. And this is how it looks like. It is, yeah. I don't know what else to say. There is really no upkeep. Now to get here, it takes a little bit of work. Obviously, it takes a lot of currency to get to this damage. However, the playstyle is always there. And that is one of the things that is huge about this build and that people love and why they come back to every league is a lot of end game. Usually the end game builds in Torchlight are the ones that get automation, and it is something that you have to kind of earn, but not with this. You just get it from the get-go, and after that, you're just kind of trying to scale damage. In terms of progression, I would say the build starts off extremely strong and then kind of tapers off, but most people will never reach the point where it ever tapers off. Let's go over Mind Control scaling. The first one is increased damage, so spell damage, erosion damage, channel damage. They all work, and they're all exactly the same. Increased damage, obviously, but then also stuff like erosion damage, damage over time, damage while channeling, damage for channeled skills, damage for every +1 additional max channeled stacks. Then we have Affliction Effect, which is this mechanic that goes on the enemy whenever they take damage from you. It is this one right here, this debuff right here, and it just means they take more damage. And there's Affliction Effect that increases the effectiveness of this debuff, and it is on, like, you can get this stat very early, and some of the stronger mechanics that we're going to talk about here are quite hard to get. Affliction Effect is one of the ones that you get basically for free, so it's going to be a ton of your damage, especially early. Another one that's going to be something you can't really forget about is Int. That is your main stat. 100 Int equals 50% more damage. It is completely ridiculous, and if you get your first 100, 200 intelligence, it is going to be a game changer. From the easy to get to the harder to get, here we have max channel stacks, which the way Mind Control works is it has these tethers that lock onto enemies, and that's what does the dot. And the more channel stacks you have, the more enemies you can basically target at the same time. So you start out with 5, and you can ramp this up pretty drastically. And Mind Control gets 20% more damage, or actually 21.5 with this level, per max channel stack, which is ridiculous, right? It is extremely, extremely strong. You also have scaling from focus right here, which gives you 6% more damage, which is multiplicative with each other. And you have another one of your chase items, which is one of your supports that give you 6.5% more damage basically for every link missing, which means it's best against single target and decent for clear. When it comes to feel and strength and also clear of the build, max channel stacks is where it all begins. Now then you have plus level of skills, basically up to level 30, it plus level 2 skills are really strong. They give 10% more damage after 20, and then after 30, only 8% damage. You can get them, for example, on your scepters, but also on stuff like slates. You're not going to have these early, don't worry about it, but later they're going to come in handy. Erosion penetration or erosion resistance, there is a pet that gives erosion penetration, which I'm currently not using, but that one's quite strong. And then you have -2 erosion resistance from Sage's Insight. In end game, which I did not reach, funnily enough, on this character, you would also have erosion pen on one of your rings. If you want to know how Sage's Insight works and how this kind of applies, then I also have that in my doc. Then we have +2 maximum blessings. I'll explain this one once we're in the Thea section. And at the end here, we have to talk about Reap. Reap is a crazy strong mechanic in Torchlight Infinite, and it is mandatory on quite every damage over time build. I won't get into the nitty gritty, but what it basically does is it takes a certain time span of the dot that is on the enemy from you, and it applies that damage immediately. It doesn't remove the dot, it just applies the damage. This gets really silly with Reap Purification because it additionally settles 25% of the remaining damage total, and then removes all damage over time on the target, which doesn't matter because we're constantly applying mind control. You can get these Reaps on both your weapons. Anything in your setup that hits with a Reaping Agony support. So that for me is, for example, Shackle of Malice and my Corrosion Focus. And you'll want to get Reap cooldown recovery rate. You can get a little bit on the passive tree. So for example, right here, Reap cooldown recovery. But the later it gets into the game, the more of this stat you want to get. It gives you a lot more upfront damage for a build that is supposed to be damage over time. Reap duration also does work. Correction here from the last leak. I had old outdated information. Reap duration does work. So Reap duration is also quite a strong stat to get. You don't want to go overboard. It is not like a crazy stat or anything, but if you can fit it in, and you'd want to have at least 100-150% in total. Now, cast speed does not work on this build. It does not change your damage. All it does is it makes your channel ramp up faster, which sounds good at the start, but you're never going out of channel, right? You're just staying in channel. So once you're max, it doesn't do anything. I'm playing Thea Blasphemer, and there's a lot of different things, a lot of different keywords here. I'm just going to kind of break it down for you. What Thea does is, her special trait is whenever you get +1 to maximum blessing, you actually get -1, which you might think is bad, right? Obviously, because these give you buffs. However, for every +1 that you get and that gets converted, you also get 15% more damage to elites. This is cute to have, getting a little bit of some extra blessings here or there, but it is not something you want to go crazy on. Otherwise, she has some more damage, movement speed, and explodey. And that's around about all you have to know about her, really. I guess swapping to Disgraced Minister does give you more damage against single target because you get Sacrificial Pawn, which is a -10% damage dealt from them, and they take additional damage, whereas this is kind of like the one where you get the movement speed. All right, let's talk about progression. This is the juicy part where I'm basically going to explain how you progress throughout the game. These are the codes that I have. Now, if you've never tried this before, you can just take a code right here, copy it, go to Pro Builds, go Quick Builds, and then enter build code. Boom. And right here it is. If it doesn't open, you probably have a space in there that's not supposed to be there. Now, at the very start, you're using Haunting A-Bomb, and this is the first skill you get literally at level 1, and it is the most broken leveling skill in the game. And some people are even muling it on their non-casters for a while. It's that good. It is just simply ridiculous, but there's not much to say about it. Know this though, this is not a damage over time. This actually deals damage. So you want to have hit damage. And on top of that, you want to scale deterioration, right? So here you have the erosion panel. There's two ways to go about it. There's wilt, which is basically poison. And then there's damage over time, but there's also a hit mechanic, deterioration. It is basically a more multiplier for erosion-based hit damage. And that is exactly where you start out right here, right? You take all the deterioration nodes that you will later respec before you go for mind control. If you don't know, in the first 90 levels of your character, you can respec everything for free. Now, there's certain side areas that have like a golden portal, and they have a certain unique pool throughout the campaign. They pop up. You have to do them for the passive tree anyways. One of them will give you Scepters of Excommunication. Make sure you farm 2 of them. They'll basically carry you through the game. Otherwise, there's a few other uniques I have here. These all are dropped. If you don't know, this game drops you certain items just kind of planned to make your leveling experience a little bit easier. But yeah, I don't have anything crazy. These Unholy Prayer Rings are really nice early on. +1 tenacity, agility. Focus is the worst one, but yeah, tenacity and agility, both very strong. You'll get these Grace Boots while leveling. And like I said, always check what the uniques give you in the side areas. Make sure that you get a early Memory of Origin with Int and Don't worry about upgrading it. You can later recycle it in your inventory and you get all your scraps back. So level this up as much as you possibly can. As for skills, Haunting A-Bomb, you can see the supports right here. I'm using Life Source for a little bit of recovery, some extra damage, that's about it. If you have pets, make sure they either do spell damage or erosion damage or anything like that, and that's going to be a big deal. If you have Preserver of Eternity, you can also get a little bit of extra movement speed. That's pretty cool. Otherwise, just take whatever you have. After A-Bomb Day 1, we go to the Mind Control respec. Now, all you need for this respec is 2 of these wands. These are called tier 3 wands, which is because they're crafted for tier 3s. And I'll show you a little bit later in the video how you do that. It's super, super easy. Everything in your build at a certain stage, or almost everything, should be crafted. Crafting is not something that's intimidating like in some other games. It is super cookie cutter, and it is extremely, extremely strong. You can even see here, I ran out of embers. So my second scepter only has garbage mods. I only have the Reap, which is the most important one to start out with, and the damage over time. That is it. Otherwise, yeah, increased damage, very good early. One mod with affliction inflicted per second is nice. Infliction takes a little bit to ramp up, so while mapping, this is going to help out a lot. You're going to later remove this, but at the start, it's very good. And the usual suspects, erosion damage, affliction damage, whatnot. That is literally all you need to transition. If you already know what you're doing, you can also transition before, but you have to do everything perfectly. Otherwise, a few things here will have changed, especially the passive tree will have changed significantly. We're now going into repurification, which is our huge damage multiplier, and everything is now dot-based. So just make sure that you have all of that. You have all the deterioration stuff gone, all the affliction, damage over time stuff in. Then you're just going to cruise through time mark, I don't know, I think I respec into Mind Control time mark 4. Then you're just going to cruise to tier 7. And at tier 7, you might have to do some digging. So this is where you get checked for the first time, which just means that you have to craft some items. So you can see right here, these are all crafted. I literally just found this ring and then crafted it. That's all you need to know. And more on that later, like I said. But yeah, int, super important at this point. You have like no int whatsoever. So every point of int is literally a multiplier. Yeah, so you can see these all look almost the same. I still have Grace Boot at this point. Gloves, helmet, they're all crafted. I'm going to keep the goose. I don't know how to pronounce this. I already forgot. Goose. Okay, either way, this Emmy is okay. Otherwise, you can throw the first slates you find in. Nothing really important. If you have some good ones, GG. As for passive tree progression here, you're now going to get your full talents. At this point, you're going to have off the beaten track, which once again enables your auras. Make sure that you have all the supports, otherwise it's going to be an issue. And that's about that. This will carry you. This is the gear that I basically farmed tier 7 with to get into tier 8. Before I got into tier 8 still, I made another snapshot here. I think this is where I killed Traveler 7, and this is at 500 million DPS, so quite a few upgrades. If you look at the differences from this one to the last one, it is 3 uniques. These are, at this point, super cheap. They used to be, if you started, they used to be like 200 FE each, but now they're like 5, right? So if you're starting late, especially, it's going to be a huge boon. Now, King's Boon, this one gives you another Reap, and it also gives you more with less, which is a more damage multiplier, has a little bit of movement speed. It's just a very, very cozy early game boot. Twilight Vestment, probably the most important stepping stone in this build. This makes you eligible to go full ES. Whenever you Reap, Energy Shield starts charging immediately. This is, once you put it on, you understand. The build kind of starts making sense. You will reserve your life this time. So if you look right here, this is where it starts. You reserve your life to get an extra... Actually, did I do that yet? It might have been in the next step. Okay, either way. You can reserve your life to... Oh no, it is here. Yeah. At the start, I only have Swiftness because I don't have the reservation. But you're going to reserve your life because at this point, you're full on Energy Shield and you have really good recovery. False God Skin, get as many of Intelligence per 4 level as you possibly can. Otherwise, damage per high stat is good. But like I said, int is so good at the start. I had this one on for, I don't know, 2 days. And the wands also got a little bit better, right? So I have int, and all of these are now tier 2 mods. That is as high as it goes for the cheap version of everything, right? You can get everything to tier 2 for very, very cheap. Another thing I did is I got a shitty belt, but it has +1 max channel stack, and every max channel stack matters, and it's incredible. Every single one of them. That's about it. So with this, I farmed up to 2 billion, which is what I called tier 8 ready. You can already do it before, but you also have to have decent survivability, I would say. And yeah, you will see that my gear hasn't changed all that much, but my slates are now filled out. So you'll see stuff like +1 to level. You'll see frail, which means enemies take increased spell damage taken. Very strong. And you'll see some mods down here on the bottom. These really do add up. This is paralyzed. They take another 15% more damage. This whole slate setup got me from 500 to 200 billion. Otherwise, I got my levels to level 20. But and also changed some of my hero memories. Make sure that you get some reaping cooldown recovery. It's one of the easier ways to get it on your hero memories. All the other ones are more expensive. Make sure the implicit is int, energy shield, and movement speed, especially if you had life here earlier. Now you're an energy shield build, make sure you also have that. But other than that, my gear is exactly the same on these two. After that, I was farming and farming and farming. I made a stop here. I think at this point I was farming 8 ones. I can't exactly remember. Let's see if there's like a different, oh yeah. So I bought Eternal Martyr. I corrupted this myself. If you can get +1, that's really nice, but these are gonna be expensive. And the point of these gloves is that they're really cheap. So they give you 95% cooldown, reap cooldown recovery, which is so strong. All the rest sucks, and these are still your biggest damage upgrade. They will give you like, I would say like 50% more damage or so. So buy them. If you can get any good implicit, then huge, right? Like make sure you check the market, whatever. Other than that, what did I change here? So I went from 2 to 5 billion. So I probably just made some small upgrades. For example, I got this one with more reap cooldown recovery rate. And let's see, in terms of this here, I don't think that much changed otherwise. Oh yeah, now I'm deep pain. So now I have 350% reservation damage auras, 42% more damage, 34% more damage, and 41% more damage. And I also bought a precise deep pain, which gives me affliction per second, and that ramps up faster, which means I don't need the affliction per second anymore on my Sceptre, so I replaced it with some damage. Now, then I have the Traveler 8 version, and what I did here is pretty simple. I now have tier 1 modifiers, or mostly tier 1 modifiers. Now, at tier 1, which is a eye level 86 or higher, you can actually roll +2 to erosion skill level, and I can do that on both of my wands. I have one with int, and the other one has reaping duration. These are, yeah, doesn't really matter, but they're advanced modifiers. And here I have energy shield charge speed. These straight up upgraded my damage from 5 billion to 10 billion. I think I had like 1 or 2 slates set up upgrades or whatever, but this is mostly it. So this is where the juice is at. After I killed Traveler 8, I farmed like crazy. This is where the build just felt incredible and just like I could literally play all day, right? So here we have the next upgrade, which is Mind Control 50 billion. Now, what do you want for 50 billion? Pretty straightforward. You start stacking channel stacks, and this is where the upgrades become bought, right? So you're not upgrading with crafting anymore, or I mean, you still can. For example, this ring is now a tier 1 ring as well, right? And I upgraded this helmet to tier 1 mods, very important. But I also got something like Wind Breath Convergence, and this one has +4 max channel stacks. Very expensive, extremely, extremely strong. Will literally give you like 70% more damage or something. And then what I got was a Fallen Starlight with max channel stacks. You want to have this on the bottom. Now, if you can get it, just in general, that's good. You can also get them on Goddess of Knowledge up here. They are quite expensive, but they're getting cheaper. If you have it on the bottom, you can then later, once you have the money, currently they are getting more and more expensive. I bought these for like 750. I think this was on end of day 2. You can buy up to 3 of these, use up to 3 of these to copy an adjacent mod, right? But it is the bottom mod, so this has to be on the bottom. And then this one also gives you +1 max channel stacks. This one gives you +1. You can kind of see the gist. And here I almost doubled my channel stacks. On top of that, I got one of the chase items of this build, which is Mind Control Concentrate. This is a magnificent support that gives you more damage for the skill for every link less than maximum links. It doubles your damage. It's ridiculous. This item is ridiculous, and it comes with the price tag to match. Also, don't forget to upgrade all your memories, right? As always, I just have better mods overall. My slate setup is better. And while everything is happening, I'm obviously also leveling up and getting extra points in the passive tree. Now, from 50 to 200, it's getting interesting. So here what I did is I got a Emmy upgrade with 4 times this mod. Very strong. The all stats is not very good, but it is what it is. I got a Priceless Helmet, which makes me get ultimate mods, which, for example, you can get +9 support skill level. You can get Reaping cooldown recovery rate. yeah, the upgrade's pretty big. And if you get an implicit, like for example, Elipen, even better. I got +2 on my Twilight Investment as a corruption, which is like 20%-ish more damage. I still have these gloves, which are going to get upgraded next. But other than that, did I change anything? Oh yeah, I got Entangled Pain. So at this point, I'm going dual curse. The only way you can do this is from a body armor or from this pet. Now, if you don't have this pet, this is just a level 1 one, you can roll with your free Battle Pact spirits for it. If you do not have it, then dual curse is probably not a good idea. And you can kind of look on hero ranking what you want to do. But yeah, the state of the game kind of dictates right now to, at a certain point, go dual curse with the build. The only other way to get this +1 curse would be from Verbal Abuse. I think it is actually right here, yeah. So Verbal Abuse gives you +1 curse and increased curse effect, and you can get this from a pedigree. If you don't know what this is, it is a slate. This one right here, it has up to 2 talents, right? The ones I just looked at. And yeah, you can get Verbal Abuse right here. Verbal Abuse, boom. And yeah, they start off very cheap. Perfect case scenario, you would have a second like talent that's really good. So it would say Verbal Abuse and, for example, something else. For example, Reflection is really decent, but you can see the price obviously increase. But this is something I would definitely invest into. Now for the last version here, I got a little bit of extra damage. This is where I stopped, and I'm gonna reroll soon. But I got a lot tankier. So I wanted to farm Profound, which is very hard to do, mostly because enemies hit very hard. So against that, I got a Valerie's Night Stroll. If you don't know, Blur makes it so you have a chance to evade enemy hits completely or avoid enemy hits completely, but it trickles down, kind of like Elusive in PoE. But with this one, you refresh it over and over, so you're always at that 20%. You also get Stealth Stab, which makes it so you take 25% less damage. It's just overall ridiculously strong boots, and it makes you like double as tanky. Get these. Your damage shouldn't change. Maybe you get a little bit of less damage than your King's Boons were, but trust me, it is definitely worth it. And Sage's Insight is the second one. Make sure you get a +1. And then, yeah, you reduce enemy resistances. For example, when you inflict with fire, you reduce all the other resistances other than fire. If you inflict with cold, and these stack, right? So you can get in total -45 resistances on enemies. And the way you set this up, because your mind control is not hitting, is you now have a Shackles of Malice setup. So Shackles of Malice is just a normal skill, but it has a good support that makes it so all your curses have 40% increased effect, or more effect, I should say. More effect. And yeah, that gives you a ton of damage, and it also applies a hit, which means you can use Reaping Agony on it. You want to automate this with a activation medium track that locks on enemies, and then whatever roll you can get here with your budget. Now that you have a hit, you want to apply these damage types, right? Because you don't have all these damage types, and that is very easy. You go to the Elementalist tree right here, and you put a single point into this micro talent, and you have everything covered. And yeah, that's the build you're currently seeing. I'm gonna quickly hover over my gear, but like I said, all the items are in there. I also did at some point upgrade my belt, the only reason being like tier 1 mods and the energy shield, right? But yeah, also you want to get a sequence at some point, which gives you, I don't know, Reaping cooldown recovery, minus resistances, whatever you can get your hands on, you can search for that. And there's also Dream Affixes, which you can get down here. And you're looking for, sorry, it is actually over here, which gives you like more damage over time. It can also give you other stuff like Reap Duration. Now, the biggest question I get asked is about auras. So auras are a little bit tricky on this build. You can see down here, I have life and mana reserved. If you didn't look at the progression section, definitely do that here. But the gist is this: once your energy shield, you can reserve your life, and that gives you another aura. That's all it is. Seal conversion. And this is tricky at the start because it reserves less and less life the higher level the support is. And I have, for example, plus the support on my helmet. I get it from the talent, but also while leveling up, it's going to be weird, right? Like there's going to be a point where it doesn't work, where it does work. But the most important thing for you to understand about this setup is this right here. Off the beaten track makes it so that every support, even if it's completely worthless, reduces the reservation of the aura. So if you see some useless supports in there, that is why. And secondly, to make sure that this goes smoothly while you're leveling and while you're getting the +2 levels on your helmet ASAP, right? This is a little bit later game, but it is quite important. You will have to substitute for now. So I had 1 to 2 points in here for quite a while, even 3 if you need to. That's the gist of it. There's no magic to it. Get 2 to 3 of these points and it's going to work out. Then about the Prism. This is the new mechanic of this league. it adds, or it can do several things, but this is what I went for. It adds a new effect to my core talent. So whenever I kill an enemy, I get percentage movement speed and additional damage for 8 seconds on defeat. This one's very strong and very cheap as well. And then you can craft on here whatever you want. You can also buy it already crafted. For example, medium talents get int or spell damage, whatever, right? Whatever you can afford. Okay. The way you install this, you can see right here, I don't take these nodes at all. I don't have to take them because if you put your prism somewhere, it actually cuts off the connection. So I can take for +1 all skills for 1 point without having to take the trash before. And I'll kind of show you how this goes. So first I have to unspec this, otherwise the showcase doesn't work. So, okay, I think I have to unspec all of the ones. You don't have to do this, but I'm just doing it so you can showcase it. Unequip, okay, here's how I start. These nodes are trash for me. I don't want cast speed. These are very low effective. So I put my prism right here, and you have to do that with nothing in there, right? Like all of the points have to be unspec'd. Confirm, boom, and it cuts off the connection. Plus, these receive the buffs of the nodes on the bottom, right? And now you can take this for 1 point. Ta-da. That's all there is to it. And yeah, whatever talent you pick here, you get the more damage. Also, one thing I get asked a lot is why do I go Shadow Dash first and then at some point I go Blurry Steps? Quite simple. Whenever you blink, your channel stacks fall off, which can get quite annoying. But at the start, it doesn't matter as much because you don't have that many channel stacks. But once you get the money to invest into channel stacks, all of a sudden you really want Blurry Steps and you just want to go full on movement speed. Sure, it's annoying that you sometimes can't TP over something, but the extra movement speed feels even better, and now your build is actually 0 button. As for pets, because I get asked this a lot, what should you go for first with your free rolls and with your legendary chest, right? You should go for Bonnie, 100%. Bonnie is ridiculous. It gives you +2 to channel stacks. It is a no-brainer. If you want to stick with this build, Bonnie is simply absurd. Such a huge power boost early. Secondly, Preserver of Eternity is very strong and very underrated by people. It gives you a lot of extra movement speed and it makes you zoomy. The +1 curse pet is quite good. It gives you 1 additional curse, but it pops off later. A lot of people won't even get to that stage, but it pops off later, as I called out in the progression part. Other than that, there are 2 good ones. I used this one for a while before I used the +1 curse. It gives you more erosion damage and it also has erosion pen. But the biggest one that I do not have is, I think it's persistent, right? This guy right here. Now this guy is ridiculous. It gives you spread and it gives you reaping cooldown recovery. So if you have Abyssal King Soul already, then yeah, this one's going to carry you through early game. Otherwise, use whatever purple pets you have. Purple pets are quite good. In fact, some of these levels, if you have a higher level purple pet, are better than the level 1 legendary pets. Another question I get asked a lot is how do you actually follow along the builds? You go to pro builds, quick builds. For example, let's say I want to follow this guy. Boom, apply all. Now what happens in the passive tree is this. It will actually highlight exactly what you want to take. You can do this throughout all of the docs that are linked, and that's how you follow along in this game without a path of building. Let's talk about crafting scepters. This is important. Do not go for a too high item level wand. I'll show you something right here. These wands are eye level 86, and you might think, oh, I can just get a high level one and just kind of like start out with like tier 3 mods and then upgrade to tier 2. No, you have to actually have different bases. If you look right here, the higher your eye level is, the more it costs. At the start, it only costs Flame Sand. This one costs raw FE to craft. So do not overshoot right from the get-go. You actually want to do the stepping stones. If you buy a early game wand, it will cost you very little to craft. This one can have maximum tier 3 mods, and it is 76 to 81. 82 is the breakpoint up to 85, where you can have max tier 2 mods. This also only costs Flame Sand. But then the expensive one is the one on the bottom, the one that I now have. If you didn't find any scepters, you go here, then you go Sceptre, boom. You're probably going to have a Reflux Scepter at this point. You go item level, I don't know, minimum 76, maximum 81, boom. You search for it. I'm just going to buy this so we can get this over with. But if you have an FE lying around, you should definitely do this ASAP still, or just wait for it to drop. But honestly, I would highly recommend getting this over ASAP. Now let's see where the scepter is. Boom. Now, pretty straightforward. What do you want? Auto crafting. Boom. Let's say you start out. So we're going to accept tier 4. So this means it stops at tier 4 or tier 3. You're going to need one of these, tier 4 or tier 3, and then damage over time, tier 4 or tier 3. Okay. And then you're also going to have advanced affixes. Start crafting. Each roll costs you 5 flame sand and 1 precious ember. It's so goddamn easy. Then we're going to do one more. We definitely need the reap. Yeah, okay, so we need the reap. Reap is mandatory. And then advanced affixes. This one costs a little bit more. If you don't have this, don't worry too much. Then you just go for another basic mod. But yeah, this one would be quite... Oh, actually rolled over it. My bad. Make sure that make sure that you're not bad like I am. Okay, reap here. And then the scepter is done. This can take, I don't know, 5 tries. It can take 20 tries. Just farm up the currency. There is another advanced mod here that's quite strong, which is reaping duration. Let's say tier 4 or higher. Just so you know, you can only have 2 advanced mods, and the rest has to be all basic. So you can see right here, I can't craft another one. Here I'm just going to go for erosion and affliction. Boom. Tier 4. Boom. That is literally it. This will like double, and with the other one, quadruple your damage. But yeah, that's about it. Use the codes in the doc. Hope you guys are having a blast with this build. Like I have already played it for the second time. So that alone already tells you everything you need to know. And since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.